Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another Whiskey Wednesday. And as you can see, the sun is shining in Orkney, and it is a glorious sort of early evening dram sort of a time of the day. I'm Rosemary, and today I want to talk a little bit about special editions. And to a certain extent, what I'm going to say can be applied also to travel retail sales. And yes, dear viewer, I am old enough to remember when travel retail was called duty free. Anyway, the dram in question today is from Highland Park here on Orkney, and it is a 12-year-old, but it is the Ness of Brodgar Legacy Special Edition. And I think one of the things about Highland Park is that they have released so many special editions over the last few years, and they are greedily gobbled up by the Inner Circle Highland Park Appreciation Society, and especially by collectors. And of course, not only enthusiasts within that society, but collectors as well. And for somebody like me who likes sharing her whiskey favours around, I certainly don't buy very many of them, but I do buy the ones which are done specifically for charities, especially if they're charities which I support myself. And so since living here for the last 3.5 years, I bought 2 bottles of a delicious special edition done for the lifeboats, for the RNLI. And look, I buy my whiskey to enjoy, and if I'm quick enough off the mark, to chat to you chaps about. But that one didn't make it to my video channel. It was glorious. And I bought 1 bottle of this Ness of Brodgar Legacy. Now, on the nose, to me it screams American oak on the nose, because it's got big fruity notes and really strong aromas that is very enticing, especially on a cool spring evening. Lots of apple and caramel and top fruit notes and that sort of custardy base, but it's really the sort of caramelized apple that I'm getting mainly on the nose at the moment, and a bit more shouting about flavour with the Ness of Brodgar, because if I nose this, which is the standard 12-year-old, a lot of the characteristics are there. And this is very easy and straightforward in comparison to this, but this is only 40%. So the Ness of Brodgar Legacy is 46%. Now, what is the Ness of Brodgar? Possibly one of the most significant archaeological digs in Europe, or indeed in the world at the moment. An incredible, possibly feasting house or ceremonial site in the centre of Neolithic Orkney, between the stones of Ness and the Ring of Brodgar. And it would just be wonderful if some digging could take place this year, because of course nothing happened last year. And with such a significant and important site, it's brilliant that Edrington through Highland Park were able to support it by doing this special edition for them. It must have been in 2019 at the autumn show that this was launched, and I was certainly very quick. I bought a bottle, and I wasn't going to open it. For once, I was going to see if I could keep it. And then I tasted it at the Linfield Hotel, which if you've been to Orkney, you may well have stayed at or eaten at. And I determined to buy another bottle, because it is delicious. So, cheers. Oh, isn't it hell watching me having such a lovely time. Now, initial impression is that it's quite oily in the mouth. It comes from the slightly higher alcohol content, which to me with a keen interest in whisky and food is brilliant, because it means that it will go really well with food. But this wonderful peppery burst of spice in the mouth, and then after I've swallowed it, it's completely mouth-watering, because it is all about that lovely caramelized tart tatin flavour. And of course, you get tons more of that at 46%, from the American oak. It's just, it's gorgeous. No, it's not the most warming of whiskey, apart from on that first sip, because of the spice there. And it doesn't really, at the minute, have a great long finish to it. But it is delicious and it's refreshing. And certainly for a dig that happens in July and August, that's certainly what the volleys on the site would want to be experiencing at the end of work. So, second sip, much more balanced and slightly toffee flavours sort of zooming to the fore, a real hint of sweetness. And the pepper and the appley spice are just balanced out. And I have to say, I absolutely love this whisky. Now, living in Orkney, various friends have come to stay with us and who know and sympathise with my husband about my slight issue with whisky and how much I love it. And on the way up, they often stop at a distillery, just checking I still like it as much as I think I do. And they bring a distillery special, or perhaps even if they're selling travel retail. Now, on the whole, I think if a company is proud enough of its whisky to be creating something splendid, it should be in their core range. And I have tasted an awful lot of travel retail stuff, which I simply wouldn't bother to talk to you about, because I don't think it's up to the mark. But when you have something like this, okay, there were 5,000 bottles of this, so it's not uber collectible, because it's really about raising funds for the charity. Now, I don't think this will be as strong as an investment as, well, let's say the 50-year-old that's just been released by Highland Park, which is changing hands at hundreds of thousands of pounds. I just sort of blanked off at the cost of it. So this is never going to be as collectible as that. But the point of this is to raise money for a charity. And even if it wasn't delicious, it would still be good because it was doing that. But it is delicious. And so if you can find a bottle, I would strongly recommend that you do. And I'm just going to taste it against this before. Yeah, it's not challenging, but it's interesting. It's easy to drink. The 12-year-old is super easy to drink. Look, if people come to Orkney and don't know whether they like whiskey or not, that's such a good whiskey to start off with. It is fruity, it's light, it's got this tiny bit of smoke at the back of it, or peatiness, but it's so minor that, it's certainly, it just sort of perks it up, really. But this is much more grown up. Now, why am I sitting here in the garden again? Well, to show you the lovely blue sea, which is in our bay. It's not actually ours, but the bay by Barrier 4 with the Churchill barriers. And that lovely beach wasn't here 75 years ago. The water just went straight up to the barrier, but this is a case of deposits building up and creating, well, one of the most popular beaches in the Orkney Islands. So I've just added a little bit of water. Now that makes the Ness of Brodgar legacy even more balanced. But to my mind, because I have a palate that's been trained over 40 years to appreciate food and drink, to my mind, it, it's lost some of the edginess. So I can't recommend this highly enough to you. Now, a lot of people say archaeology is a really destructive thing, but it helps us to understand so much of what went before, and so many things that they found at the Ness of Brodgar have been utterly amazing, like prints of fabric in pots, and there are many, many more exciting things we think still to be revealed from this incredible site. And here behind me, you can see this glorious new dry stone wall that's being built at the moment to shelter our outdoor vegetable patch. And in many ways, that's kind of the building up, whereas the excavation is the taking away. But what it's revealing at the Ness of Brodgar is amazing stonework that is just as perfect as that which Magnus is doing here for us at the moment. Now, Magnus has a chisel and a hammer with which to split the stones. You have to remember that at the Ness of Brodgar, after which this wonderful whisky is named, that was created in the Neolithic, and they had stone and wood, and probably some flint, but they could sharpen their stone for cutting tools. And what is being found there is absolutely incredible. If you're coming to Orkney and you're here in July or August, check out the Ness. And if you're not coming, but you can find a bottle of this online, get it. I just looked at an auction site before making this video, and actually a bottle of this had gone for just £27, which is ludicrous because it was 55 in its first offering. So keep an eye. If you trust my palate, as I hope you do, dear viewer, and there are more than one of you now, you might pick up a bargain because it will never be done again. Perfect. I wish I was looking at the view. Of course, you have that advantage. But keep drumming. Bye.